Hey parents, what does a car ride home look like for you when your kids are in sports? They just had a game. You're frustrated. They might be frustrated. Maybe you lost. Tracy, we've been in a situation like this with our kids many times when they were younger.
Man, hindsight's 2020. So I'm hopeful that this topic will be helpful to parents that are in the thick of it because we're now done with it. And as I look back on some of the things that I said, conversations, things that just really were unhelpful to our kids in their sporting years, I wish I could do that over.
Here's what scripture says about it. Ephesians 4:29, don't use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them.
Yeah, when I think about our kids and some of the teams that they played on, more from our son than our daughter, just there's a lot of pressure on kids anymore with sports and the comp sports that they're all playing. And, there's like this idea that I think a lot of parents have bought into, certainly kids have, that they could be the next Kobe Bryant or something if we're talking about basketball. And so we kind of buy into this thing where if we're on the right team, our kid can be the best thing that's ever happened to the state in which we live. And we can kind of lose sight of a lot of things, and it can turn us as parents then into being more critical because we're so desperate for our kids to succeed that we're missing opportunities to just be affirming to them and encouraging to them, which is what they really need from us, because they're going to get plenty of negative stuff from teammates, from coaches. I mean, if you're sitting in the stands in any sport, you hear what parents are saying, what coaches are yelling. Our kids don't need that from us.
Yeah, check out this equation. Encouragement plus criticism equals discouragement. Tracy, that seems maybe a little bit harsh. Is that always true? Can't you sometimes criticize?
I think the idea of the criticism is it's a timing issue. And the whole point of this particular topic is I think sometimes as parents, as soon as the game is over and you're driving home, you want to like unpack the whole thing. And you might start by being positive, like, oh, you did so well on this play and you hustled here and boy, you got a lot of points or great tackle or whatever it is. But oh man, you really missed it on this one, or what were you thinking on this play? And so we take a positive and then we add the criticism. And really for our kids, I mean, first of all, they've got their own internal things they're struggling with, especially if it was a loss or if maybe they didn't perform the way they wanted to. So if you put out some positives, trying to be the good, affirming parent, but then you throw in the criticisms, our kids are only hearing the negative. It just takes the conversation from where it could have been an encouraging conversation, and those criticisms then become a discouragement. At least in our experience, that's what happened every time. I would try to be so good about being affirming, and just on the way home, it's not the time to be critical or to have something to say that could be construed as negative. And I couldn't help myself. And I could see with our son how that was so not helpful for his confidence. And all it did was derail the conversation into the negative, the critical, the things that were not great, and kind of missed the point then of any of the positives to the experience.
Here's another passage, this one from Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them. Rather, bring them up with the discipline and instruction that comes from the Lord. In some translations, it talks about not exasperating your children. And I think this isn't just the dad thing. I think this is for dads and moms. Maybe husbands and wives, you can talk about this at home. Which one of us is more of the critical parent? Tracy, I know for us, surprisingly, it was, well, can I say it? It was probably
No, it's fine. It was
you.
me.
Yeah, it was probably
Yeah.
you a little bit more. My dad was always a real encourager. So that's what I always did. I was a real encourager all the time. And you always were, and plus you're a better athlete. So you were always looking at, you could have done this better, you could have done that better. But read the temperature in the room or in the car on the way home, and you'll realize that maybe your kid's not really processing it. It's, depending on their personality, it's probably not helpful.
Yeah. And I think, like I said earlier, the timing issue, it's not like you can't tell your kids like, hey, you need to hustle more, or, you were really kind of pouting when you got a bad call or whatever. Those conversations can happen. What we're talking about is just in the context of the car ride home, like just like you said, check the temperature, have those, the not exasperating pieces. Really don't have conversations with your kids if they're not in a place to have it. Like, do I want to have a hard conversation about where I failed when I just came out of a situation that I know I failed? I mean, you got to kind of pick and choose our timing. so that we're setting our kids up for success, that we're affirming them and that we're encouraging them rather than just making them feel worse about themselves.
One more scripture. This one's from the book of Proverbs. It says there, direct your children onto the right path, and when they are older, they will not leave it. And of course, in this context, Tracy, the path that we're talking about is really knowing what a win really is. Because the truth is, most of our kids, a vast majority of all the kids or parents of kids watching this, those kids aren't going to play into college, certainly not into pro sports. So the more we pile on that this is the way you should go, that if you don't win in sports, then you're not a winner, right? You're a loser. I think that's what we're talking about here.
Right. And I think it's putting the emphasis on the things that do matter, that we should look at sports as just another venue that teaches our kids some of those things that we train them towards being healthy adults, that we don't emphasize just winning or what team are you on, and certainly don't be disingenuous, like we say, like how many times I said, hey, just play for fun. But then now I'm criticizing you for not performing the way I thought you should. So which is it, Mom? Am I supposed to have fun? Is sports not really about the winning or personal achievement, or is it? Because I give mixed messages.
So parents, I know you can relate. That's why you're watching this video. Use the discussion questions below to have a conversation amongst yourselves or maybe with a mentoring couple. And just remember this, simply encourage on the car ride home.